my favorite part where I fling the door open. So let's let all these amazing people. You had people very patiently waiting. I always appreciate that. Nobody was banging on the door too loudly. Knocking gently. We'll say knocking gently, but not banging on it. Not banging on it. All right, more people coming in, more coming in, more coming in, more coming in. You have a full house today, as I knew you would. I want to welcome everybody. I am going to be really quick with my announcements because you didn't come here to see me today. And that's okay. I don't feel bad about that at all because we have amazing guests with us today. But I do want to just share a couple of thoughts and actually I have a little treat for everybody if anybody is interested in that sort of thing because it's Friday and we like to give things away. So thank you for joining the Free Friday webinars here at USDLA. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Valerie. I am this year's president of the board for a couple more weeks, and then we'll turn things over to the new board term. But I'm so glad you joined us today. This is one of my favorite events of the week. Today we do have our dear friends from Inscribe in the house, and they're gonna wow you. They always do. They're awesome. So I'm gonna turn things over to them in just one second. But I just want to remind you that this session today is being recorded. More people coming in. Look at that. Session is being recorded, and you can find many of the replays of the Friday webinars as well as other USDLA content over at the YouTube at usdla.tv. So if you're not subscribed over there, why not? Get over there. It's free. Grab it. Go and see what's over there. Good stuff. Some of the content, however, is in the members only section. So if you have not already joined USDLA, please take a moment and consider doing so. We even have a trial membership. So you can, hop in there, check out what's going on and decide from there. And hopefully you will decide to stay with us because we're kind of a fun bunch. I was told at the last webinar, they're like, y'all are fun. I'm like, yeah, we try to be. So here we are. And if you want to come have fun in person with us, and you can, we will be in St. Louis, June 23rd to the 26th for our national conference. We have got just jam-packed full of stuff. You'll get to see the Inscribe team if you come, among other things. But we have amazing keynotes. We have the traditional things you would expect. We have workshops and concurrent sessions. The workshops are actually all included in the price of your registration, including some very special ones, including a full day certification on the Thursday, which is from Sententia Gamification. They do a 3-level certification that's recognized by ATD and SHRM and all the alphabet soup of organizations like that. So you might really want to check that out if you are at all interested in gamification and or getting more certifications or anything like that. It is included in your registration. As I mentioned, we have amazing keynotes. We've got Joe Salustio from the EdUp Experience podcast. He's going to be there. Dustin York's going to be talking about personal branding. We have Dr. Harris from Bristol Community College, and he and Dr. Robbie Melton separately will be talking about AI things and the future of things. So that's exciting. And John Chen down at the bottom is our virtual producer on site. Do want to mention, if you can't be there in person, we do have a virtual package, and that includes not only some virtual webinars, much like the one we're going to be part of today, but it includes live streaming and recordings and everything of many of the on-site experiences, including all of the keynotes, award ceremony, and things like that. So all the great stuff that's going on in the ballroom, in the main room, will be broadcast, and you would actually have part of that as your virtual programming. Finally, before I turn it over, I do have to say thank you to all of our amazing sponsors. So please take a moment. They run the gamut of hardware, software, services, anything and everything you can think of that will help you help your learners in a distance space. So we've got a little bit of everything. Many of these sponsors will be on site at the conference, and I can tell you we always have amazing conversations with all of the vendors. I love walking around and hearing the little conversations about, like, why doesn't it do this? Or do you think you could do that? Or, like all those great questions that you get in a relatively small networky sort of setting like we have. So thank you to all of the platinum, gold, and silver sponsors. And then I can never forget, we also have our bronze sponsors, exhibitors, and friends. So again, take a moment. If you see people on here you don't recognize, go check them out, see what they're about. They might do something that, wow, you had no idea was even possible. So please, each week, I feel like each week this graphic changes as we have more people join the USDLA community. So please take a moment. And if you work with one of these people that you see on the screen, please reach out to your rep. They love to talk to you. I think our guest today will vouch for that. They love to hear from their customers and things like that. So please take a moment and do that. So without further ado, I am going to stop being the slide hog and I'm going to turn things over. I'm laughing because we were making some jokes in the green room before we started. But I want to thank so much today. We have Katy and Sasha here, and I'm just going to turn over to them because they can probably introduce themselves better than I can. Although I can make up some really cool stuff and make people sound real exciting. So
You might do a better job. I would love to see what you would make up for me. It would be really fun.
But I want to thank you both so much for being here today, and thank you everybody. Please feel free. Chat is free. Jump in there, engage, and we will. Katy will let you know, but we will have a chance for all of you to interact with our guests today. So get your questions ready. And thank you both for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction, Valerie, and for kicking us off. Super excited to be here today. We are here to talk a little bit about some of the ways that we can promote student connection and belonging, particularly for our online students, through the use of digital communities. So my name is Katy Kappler. I am co-founder and CEO at Inscribe. If you're not familiar with Inscribe, don't worry. I'm going to give you a tiny little tidbit of information on what we do, but then really the star of the show today is Sasha Flores, who is here from Rio Salado College. I'm going to have you introduce yourself in 1 second, Sasha, but before that, I am joined, I love we added this little caveat, by my colleague Danielle, who is going to help sort of facilitate, keep an eye on the chat, questions coming in. She'll have a few resources to share. Danielle's power went out, of course, 20 minutes ago, so she is joining via phone, which is why she is not on here live. If the power comes back on, we might get a sneak peek at her, but thanks for being there, Danielle. Sasha, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about your role and background at Rio Salado?
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's so exciting to be here. Thank you for saying such kind words, Katy. I'm happy to join you. My name is Sasha Flores. I am the current project and change manager for strategic initiatives at Rio Salado College. Rio Salado is part of the Maricopa County Community College District in the greater Phoenix metro area in Arizona. We are a 10 community college district for lack of better words. Each of our colleges are individually accredited, so we're kind of like sisters in a way. And so we at Rio Salado brought Inscribe forward to support our online students, which we'll tell you more about in a little bit. And I'm excited to join you and tell you more about our experience in launching a virtual, student community for our students that live both here and across the country.
That's awesome. Yes, we have absolutely loved partnering with Rio, and Sasha has been a tremendous leader for this initiative. So thank you so much. Love to know who we have in the audience. So if you have a second, just drop into the chat. Let us know who you are, where you're from. If there's something in particular that caught your interest about the topic today, we'd love to know that. Make sure that we touch on any sort of ideas or opportunities or challenges that you might be facing in this space. Also, you can also I have if you've ever seen webinars with my team before, I have a weather thing. I don't know what it is. I'm obsessed with weather. So I'm in Denver. The sun wishes it could come out. It's been rainy for 2 days in Denver, which is very unusual. Normally it's very sunny here. So we're embracing that for our plants this summer. Sasha, what's the weather in Arizona?
I mean, it's Arizona in the summer. Of course, it's hot.
Is it already triple digits?
Yeah, definitely. The last week, though, we had that weather front come through, and it was actually in the 80s, which was wild. It was wonderful. It rained all day, over the weekend. It was amazing. And now we're in the low hundreds. It was about 100 yesterday. I think it's supposed to be 101, 105 this weekend, something like that, which is actually moderate for us. Yeah. So,
I'm very impressed by the people that live down there in the summer. You guys are super troopers.
We are a crazy bunch. You have to be crazy to live here in the summer.
Well, and so with that, let me, if you, like I said, if you're not
Oh,
familiar with
well, I
Inscribe,
do remember
oh,
our
sorry.
dinners, we all had, I mean,
We have somebody sharing, but I don't think we can hear you completely. So we might have lost them. Come back on if you want to jump in. Um, so just a little bit about Inscribe in case you're not familiar with the platform. So we're a virtual community platform. What that really means is we help institutions create digital spaces for their students to go to connect with each other, with faculty and staff. Essentially, anytime they have a question, they need help, they're just seeking advice. We always like to talk about Inscribe as human first, technology enabled. And what we mean by that is, one of the things that Sasha is going to share today is some of the positive outcomes that they have seen after implementing their community. And we believe fundamentally that the root of those positive outcomes is the ability to help students find each other and connect with each other, especially when they're learning at a distance. So we love technology, we love AI, but we don't want to replace those human interactions with technology. We'll let other people think about that on the efficiency side somewhere else. For us, it's like, how do we use technology to help people find each other and to build those authentic relationships? So that's just a word. There'll be plenty of opportunities. If at the end of this you're interested in learning more about Inscribe, of course you can reach out to me. We can go a little bit deeper. We are, I mentioned the idea of the positive outcomes that communities can bring. Certainly, we look at things like student retention and persistence, and those are important. But we also look very deeply at what a sort of the softer side of what a community can bring to the table. So we look at things like belonging, which we are going to talk a lot about today, because Rio did an amazing study on the impact on sense of belonging with their students. We all know what belonging is and how it has this direct correlation to persistence for our learners. We also are starting to think more and more about the concept of social capital. So one of the things that a more traditional student gets when they go to college or university is the ability to just be around other people and build my network, build relationships that can help me during school and after. When I'm learning online and I'm kind of distanced from people, I don't necessarily get the ability to do that in a natural way. So one of the things we think about in building these communities is how do we give online students the opportunity to build that network, that social capital, the same way a more traditional student would get if they were just living in a dorm on campus. So that's a little bit just about the foundation of Inscribe. But I am not the star of the show. As I said, today's real star of the show is Sasha. So why don't you start us off, Sasha, by just explaining a little bit about Rio Salado. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the college, but give us a little bit about the background and kind of makeup of the college system.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we're part of the Maricopa County Community College District. We were founded to be the, quote, college without walls. That's kind of our early tagline. And really, it was meant to be a way to offer education to students where they are, right? Meeting students where they're at. We have a very large GED and ABE population. We're actually the largest provider in the state. We were the first to offer online. We were the first to offer distance learning. We used to have classes that were available via VHS. For those of you that actually know what that is, I'm totally dating my age right now. We were the first to offer registration over the phone. Like, we've always been that innovator in our district. And as we've grown, since I mentioned we were the first to offer online courses, as we've grown into that online model, we offer classes to students not only here in Arizona, but as I mentioned, all over the country. And we actually have students that are international as well that live outside of the US. Our head count is in 2023, 2024, our head count was about 41,000 students. 21,000 of those were online. And we offer an asynchronous online model with one course, many sections, and many start dates. So a student could be in week 1 or week 8 in the same section, and there isn't a lot of cross opportunity for those students to meet one another. They don't interact with one another. And Rio was really looking for something to help bridge all of those students together, right? To give them the opportunity to connect with one another, especially with living outside of Arizona. I mean, I was looking up the stats the other day, and it was approximately how many students? 17% of our students live outside of the state of Arizona, and another 8.6% live outside of our main county, so across our state. So that's, 27, 26, 25% of our students aren't actually here to come in for physical services. And we don't have that traditional classroom model where you meet somebody because you're both sitting next to each other in English class. We don't have that setup. So we really were looking for something to bridge our students together. In addition to all of that, about 70% of our students come here. We call them supplemental students. They're actually not here for a degree or certificate. They're here to supplement what they're already doing with courses to transfer someplace else, either within our district, within the 10 colleges, or to ASU or NAU or one of the other universities or other places we do, like credit recovery, things like that. So our students are here for a variety of reasons, but we really were looking for a way to give them a chance to meet and connect and build a sense of community with one another.
Lots of complexities when it comes to like establishing that relationship and that foundation with the learner. You also have kind of a unique, I don't know, I mean, this may be fairly common across the community college system or a non-traditional student population, but it's definitely reflective of a set of students that, maybe isn't what people would think of in that traditional bucket.
Right. Yeah. I think more recently, our first gen population is a little lower than this slide because that information is a little older. But we are still almost 45% of our students are first generation. 70% of our students are Pell eligible. We don't serve your traditional right out of high school 18-year-old. Our students tend to be older. They tend to be either returning to school late or retooling or coming to school for the first time because they didn't go right out of high school. We just have such a diverse population of students that come here for various reasons. So serving them is a little bit different than your traditional, right, high school grad.
Right. And when I see some of these, my mind also goes to probably working at the same time, maybe has a family already at home or is looking after, so add on to the complexities you already have with the fact that these students are super busy, they're doing a million things. Like, how do you engage them in a way that is meaningful, but also flexible, right? Because so not overly demanding of their time. And this I love, and I think I'd love you to talk about this a little bit because I think it extends into how you thought about the creation and the development of your community, but the fact that you really do put students at the center of the work that you do. Do you want to talk just a little bit about some of these?
Sure.
Sorry.
I'm like, yes, absolutely. That's what we do.
I agree.
Everyone knows it. No, we really do. I mean, the student is the reason that we're here. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir across education, right? But really keeping them front of mind. Rio is dedicated to that, and not only across our entire learning model and developing, programs that are for students or meaningful for students, but also in developing this community. We really wanted to put students first and keep their voice and their purpose and their reason front of mind as we moved into developing an online virtual community space.
That's awesome. And so I know, so great setup about Rio. We started to talk a little bit about this, but let's go maybe just a layer deeper on, what were some of the challenges that you guys were facing in supporting learners that brought you to have conversations with us at Inscribe?
So as I mentioned, we are that asynchronous model, one course, many start dates, right? We have courses that start over 40 times a year, almost every Monday, like most Mondays, there's a new class that starts.
Wow.
And because of our model, we're also very flexible. We don't tend to cancel our online courses. So you could have 1 or 30 students in the same section, but they could be different start dates. So it didn't lend itself naturally to meeting one another or developing, a study group, or just meeting somebody else that may be in your same shoes or could provide advice or support. And we noticed that, and we heard from our students time and time again, I wish there was a way to meet each other. And we have a proprietary LMS that we have named Rio Learn, because we tend to Rioize everything at Rio. And you'll see more of that in a second. But there are, chat spaces in some of our classes, but there really wasn't the nudge to meet or connect with other students. And that can be a little difficult when you're in the same section, but I'm working on week 4 and Katy's working on week 1, and Katy doesn't necessarily have anything to share with me because she's just doing assignments that I've already done. It didn't really lend itself to a natural conversation, and that's locked into each course section. That's not course agnostic, that's not program agnostic, right? So having a space for students to continue to come back to, whether they're in English or math or science or week 1, or they're brand new, or they've been here for a couple of years, having some space for them just didn't exist in a cohesive way. I mean, we had tried like Google Circles for, those that have been, again,
Oh wow,
I'm
yeah,
dating
now
myself,
you're
really
really
dating myself. We even had a Facebook group called Rio Lounge, but again, that's social media specific. It wasn't something we could embed with classes or put into the portal. It wasn't really college sanctioned. And those things also, force you to create a Facebook account, which not all students wanted social media on their own, right? Like it just was not the most effective method of connection for students.
Totally.
And that's really, that was limiting. And also office hours, right? So we work, 9 to 5, or our college is open until 6 p.m. I think we're open like 8 to 6 most days, like Monday through Thursday. And then in the summer, we're closed for some services on Fridays. That didn't really lend for access to information in a timely manner for students either, or for even connection to one another to say, hey, I forgot how to do this, or can I look up AP standards or MLA standards? Like there wasn't anything available to students for that kind of support after hours.
Yeah, right. That sort of 24-hour learning cycle that a lot of these students are part of. Yeah. Well, and interestingly, I mean, you definitely have a very unique instructional model, but I would say even some of those schools we've talked to that have a more traditional online model will still say that students might connect a little bit in a class or because they were told to do a group project, but they also are like, it's kind of transient, we're in and out. It would be nice to have this more centralized location that, the commons, so to speak, that students could come to and talk to one another.
Yeah.
And I welcome the audience. If you guys have tried things or if you've had success with other mechanisms for doing this, please drop those thoughts and ideas in the chat. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat as well. Danielle, feel free to interrupt me if something's going on in the chat that I'm not aware of. You're fully empowered to interrupt. Okay, so amazing student population. You've got all these learners. They're all over, widely dispersed. Creates a little bit of an issue. So let's talk a little bit about how you brought digital communities and Inscribe into Rio to help address some of those challenges. So tell us a little bit about RioConnect.
Yeah. So when we were connected, sorry, lack of a better term, it's no pun intended or pun intended. When we were connected with Inscribe to learn more about the product and what it could mean for our students, we were also launching a study through WGU Labs, and to measure the student's sense of belonging, of self-reported belonging. And so we pulled together students from our PTK, and we asked them, if we were to launch a space, what do you want? What would you want from this space? What would be meaningful to you? And how would you like to see the college create and cultivate this type of space? And what we overwhelmingly heard from students was, we want a place to connect with one another. And so that's where this concept of RioConnect, I liken it to an online student union space, right? So instead of a physical student union building, this is an online student union space. So it's really meant to be peer-to-peer, where we try to be very mindful to not make this like just a message board to push information. We do share information, but we really wanted to keep the students' voice, that they wanted a space for themselves. And so when I talk to others around our college about using the Inscribe platform and using RioConnect as a space, I really bring it back to that purpose, the why of peer-to-peer. We want our students wanted a place to talk to one another, to meet one another, to cultivate and develop relationships, to hear from one another, and to provide support to one another. So that's where this whole idea was born from. And as I mentioned, we tend to Rioize things here. So the name RioConnect was the creation for that community.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And tell how are students accessing the community today?
Yeah, great question. So a couple of things that we did. We have a portal as part of our learning, our LMS, and it's called Rio Learn. Again, the Rio. And we've actually embedded the link into our portal. It says online community, come join us. We also upload students manually into the space, so that way they start to get the communications. We've embedded the information in our first year experience classes. We offer 2 different courses, a 1 credit and a 3 credit, that are required for all of our degree seeking students, our new degree seeking students. And we've also embedded it in our NSO that is available. It's a free NSO that's available to all brand new students to our college. So we've embedded it there, and then we're constantly working on new strategies for adding students and getting the word out. But it is available to any student that has login credentials. So even if they're newly admitted and haven't quite registered for a class yet or haven't started their class, they're still welcome to come join the space, have a conversation, look around, learn from others, ask questions. We really didn't want this to be limiting to a population per se.
Mm-hmm.
This was really meant to be just open to all of our online students as a whole, regardless of where they're at in their learning cycle.
In their journey. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's a closed system in the sense that you have to have Rio credentials to get into it, just for your population, but open in the sense that like you think about that population in the broadest possible set of terms, which I love, because now you've got new students learning from students who have been around a little bit longer, and we're going to see some examples of that, I think, coming up right now. I will say, because this is a question we get all the time, and I might be jumping ahead a little bit here, but many thousands of students, how are you moderating these communities to make sure that they're staying on track, I guess, for lack of a better word?
That's always the big question. We've had this community since 2021. So clearly we've had this for a while, and anytime anyone asks me, they're always concerned about that space. And we have a few moderators. I'm the primary moderator, and I spend, I don't know, maybe an hour at the most a week, really kind of reviewing content. It's not super time consuming. I love that the space has AI to help notify us if there's anything concerning, or I get an email right away if there's any words that I want flagged, or sentiment or anything like that. But I monitor it, and then we have some of our academic advisors that also have specific channel spaces, and we can talk about channels in a little bit, but we've aggregated our content by meta majors, or what we call fields of interest, that we've grouped our programs together. And so those academic advisors also kind of keep an eye on content within their channels. But the majority of the work falls to me, and I spend, like I said, maybe an hour a week at the most moderating, but I do also work with others to cultivate content for the space as well. So it's definitely a shared endeavor.
Responsibility,
it's a shared responsibility, but it's not the most time consuming. And knock on wood, in the, since 2021, we've had, I think, 3 incidents that were the most concerning, that needed to be addressed. But of our thousands of students that are in the community and active in the community, it's been a very minimal fraction of anything that had to be addressed. Most things are like, oh, I was frustrated, and then let's get you over some information, and let's connect you with resources. Or my favorite is, hey, Rio Learn's not working for me. It seems to have an issue. Can somebody look into it? And then I boost it and we get it fixed. I love those. It's like the best kind of like warning system, like early
Early
alert.
warning.
It was amazing. It happened twice and it was perfect. It was like a weekend too. So it was amazing.
Tap your
to get that
students
fixed.
as an early alert system. I love
Yes,
that. That's so
yes,
funny.
I loved
Yes.
it.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that there is some AI built in to help identify when there might be posts that need a little bit of a more immediate attention. But yes, that like, and I think your experience is reflective of a lot of people that really students bring them their best selves to these spaces. In fact, let's look at some examples of that. So let's talk about some of the types of interactions that you might see. Obviously, one of them being students just meeting each other and connecting from a distance.
This one actually almost made me cry. Well, just the powerful, just the power of having this space available to students and giving each other support of, hey, I'm a 25-year-old student and I'm new, or I've done this before. I've seen a few posts of, I'm 50 and I feel like I might be too old for this. No, girl, you are not too old for this.
Yeah.
But to see the students come back and say, no, you're amazing and keep going. And we're so proud of you and you've got this and we're here for you. And the support is incredible. It's just wild. So seeing that and the, hey, I don't know what class to take next, or I'm struggling with this. Can someone, does somebody want to form a study group, or can we just, share what our favorite pizza is in the valley? Like any of those just organic, natural reactions and
Right.
and connections are just amazing. But these, especially like I have no friends. Oh my gosh. Like I wanted to go over and just hug her.
Well, yes, and there's like, people will often say, yes, students have advisors, they have coaches they can talk to. Those humans are incredibly important, but it's not the same as talking to somebody who's like living the same life as you, has the same experience as you, just having that peer feedback come through.
Right.
Just and the interactions don't have to be high stakes, right? There's like all these little low stakes interactions that add up to something really, really meaningful.
Absolutely.
There's also, of course, this practical side of things where students have questions, they need to, get answers to things. So talk a little bit about how you're seeing some of that play out.
Yeah, there have been students. There was a student actually not that long ago that was asking about making payment for a class, and she thought she had a hold or a block on her account, and giving her a space to elevate that question, and not in a oh, you're stupid, or like, no, of course it's like a valid question. If you're new to college, you don't understand what these mean, to be able to answer those questions and provide the resources. And then if another student has that question, they can either search, or as they start to type up their question, the AI Rosie provides a helpful, like, hey, is this what you're looking for? And can help answer that and provide guidance and resources, especially again, like those after hours times. Our students do tend to work full time, like you were saying, Katie. They have kids, they're caregivers to their parents. These folks tend to study after hours, right? They're in their classroom at 9 p.m. or at 3 o'clock in the morning or on a Saturday, when it's not that easy to just pick up a phone and ask a question. Sometimes you just need those resources. And I love that when it's been answered, or when I've created a resource in the community, that it's kind of like, I explain a resource is kind of like a flyer on the wall, right? When I've put that in there, then students can find that information either again by searching, or because it pops up and shares and says, hey, is this what you're looking for? And that can help them find the answers that they're looking for a little more timely.
Connecting to those solutions really, really quickly, right? So we have the social emotional piece of building relationships. We have the practical side of like Q&A. You also mentioned it's a great way for you to push out information to learners. So talk to us a little bit about how you do that, or what types of things you're promoting in the community.
Yeah, for that, I've actually partnered with our marketing department. We have a social media manager who posts to all of our social media channels and in LinkedIn, and also posts to Inscribe when there's like a new program that's launching. Rio Salado and the Maricopa district has within the last few years been approved to offer bachelor's degrees. So we're actually
Oh.
offering bachelor's. We just had graduates in our our education, our teacher education program. And so we actually just boosted a story about one of our recent grads who's a teacher and just earned their bachelor's degree through us, which is amazing because cost savings for community college is incredible. So yay. So we boost those kinds of things, but also timely notifications. If RioLearn is going to be worked on and it might be down for a little while, we boost that. The summer, I mentioned we have summer hours, and so there may be limited services available. We boost that. Anything like that, scholarships, job opportunities, students post to each other job opportunities that are like teaching
That's
jobs in Valley, that
cool.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's really cool too. So we try to promote that, but I also encourage our team members that have access, try not to like spam the community. Let's not all post everything on Friday, or like, let's not all post 3 things at a time. Let's stagger it out and work together. So we've had to have some communications about who's posting, and when they're posting, and making sure that we're not, 2 people aren't posting the same thing.
Yeah,
So
right.
We've had that happen a couple times too. Yeah.
I love the enthusiasm though. It's a good problem to have when people are excited about sharing in a space like this. And then the last
Katy?
example we have, oh
Katy?
yeah, sorry.
There is a question in the chat, and it kind of goes back a little bit back to moderators specifically. So
Yeah.
Sasha, can you tell us how you're identifying those moderators, specifically
sure.
like instructors and like the content providers?
Yeah. Well, content providers, like I mentioned, we have our marketing department, but we also have identified some key stakeholders. So our, of course, that the name has just gone out of my head. Our student life director has also been posting in our community, and then our moderators are myself and our academic advisors. Our instructors themselves don't actually have a lot of engagement in this community specifically. We do have more than one virtual community. We have some co-curricular communities that are tied more specifically to courses or programs. We have, for instance, our community for criminal justice, and that's embedded in the classes. It's a whole extra separate experience, and that was cultivated by the faculty with their adjuncts. Like I mentioned, that asynchronous model that we have 24 residential faculty and then 1,200 adjunct faculty. And so our faculty chair creates the course, and then the adjuncts teach it. And so they work very closely with their adjuncts to cultivate the content for those co-curricular communities. For RioConnect specifically, this is meant to be more peer-to-peer and less staff heavy. So we really went for the stakeholders that had more of like a resource in the game, and that was definitely more of that like programmatic, the field of interest, that meta major kind of area. Yeah, great question.
Thank you.
Let me know if that
Danielle.
helped or if you need more clarification.
Continue to interrupt us, Danielle, please. So, and then I think this goes back a little bit to where we started our journey about the types of posts that you're seeing, but talk to us a little bit about this and how often you see people sort of sharing and being vulnerable in these spaces.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, these are the type of posts that make me cry. It's never too old to start because every day is a brand new day, or I feel like I'm too old to start classes because I'm this age. These types of supports are incredible. We have one student that lives across the country. He lives over on the East Coast, and he posts a few times a week, and it's usually like a meme or a happy Friday, or wishing you all a, happy whatever, insert this holiday, or, that kind of thing. And having a space for him to be able to share happy sentiments with other students is really incredible. Seeing him get the support of others and saying, hey, it's good to see you, or hey, you hadn't posted in a while, hope you're doing okay. That's just been really, really fulfilling. And it definitely, I think, speaks to that sense of belonging, giving that student the opportunity to feel like they're a part of something, that they're not alone. I think is just such an incredible outcome and benefit of providing this type of space for students.
I love that you mentioned that, and we don't have it on the slide. If I go back, I can make it go back. No, it doesn't want to go back. On the previous slide, you probably saw circled like the number of views that each of the posts was getting and the thousands and thousands of views. And one of the things I always think about in these spaces is, so, you know, this is, let's just say 2 posts, 2 people who felt comfortable sharing their story, being vulnerable, but then 3,000 people maybe saw this post and are thinking the same thing, feeling the same thing, but weren't brave enough or didn't feel like empowered enough to share it. I think how impactful that is for that person too, just to see they're not the only one. Other people are out there sharing, you know, having some of their same struggles and opportunities. And so I also, Sasha, will periodically just cry when I read stuff in our communities. It's really oh, but yeah, it's just so powerful to see how much students can help each other when they're given the opportunity to do so.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to find
just a kind word, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to go track down the memes from that guy because I feel like they're probably amazing. Yeah. Okay, so you launched this community. We have all this wonderful activity. Students are being amazing stewards of the space. Let's talk a little bit about the results. So we referenced earlier that you were launching a study around belonging. Talk us through that study. I don't think we have a ton of slides specifically on the study, but talk us through that study and then what the results were that you saw.
Sure. So the study was on our initial just specific online population, and it was deployed at 2 times. So we had a measure of early adopters and then late adopters who were using the space. The study went over a semester. It was like fall semester of 2021. And it asked the same questions of, you know, how much of a sense of belonging do you have to the college? How do you feel about these spaces? Things like that. And overwhelmingly, students that were both early and late adopters, both overwhelmingly said that they felt an increase in sense of belonging to the institution, which was incredible. The fact that they felt that level of peer connectedness, even just in that short amount of time, was exactly what we were hoping for in launching a space like this and providing a space like this. And the average age of our community participants, I mean, we're not talking like 18-year-olds, right? Again, we're not that traditional college age. We have students that are all over in the age range. And the fact that our average age of student is older, giving them a space to connect with one another like this was just overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. And I love that component of the study where the late adopters, so when the questions were asked the first time, the late adopters had not yet gone into the community and their reported sense of belonging was much lower than the ones who had been in the community. Mm-hmm. And then later when they redid the study and those people had now been in the community, you could see the line of belonging literally just grow up to meet up with the early adopters. It was
and it was the same, right? It wasn't like, oh, I feel a little more, you know, sense of belonging. No, it was like they were both the same high level sense of belonging, which was great.
A dramatic increase. So we're going to drop a link to the study in the chat at some point here, and there might also be a QR code coming up. So you guys can read the full study, all the work that was done there. We also, if anyone's interested in running a similar study at their college or university, we have all of the study design and the questions that were asked, and we're happy to share those with you. So just reach out. They were all done through an independent, a group called the College Innovation Network that was out of Western Governors University. So they were the ones that helped design the study. So again, happy to share those if anyone is interested. And then I think you also, as part of the study, did a little bit of qualitative feedback, right? Asking students what they thought. Did any of this jump out at you in particular?
I guess I shouldn't say it was surprising, but it was overwhelmingly positive in a way that I don't know that I was expecting. So just again, the fact that both early and late adopters, it felt the increased similar sense of belonging and that they were appreciative of having a space, or that they had a space specifically for peer-to-peer connections, not just It didn't have to be academic. It didn't have to be class or course specific. Giving them just that space and seeing this was, I think, just positive reinforcement for us to keep the community going all these years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
And now it has been,
motivational.
yes, 4 years later and still going strong.
Yeah.
So we may have in the audience some people who are thinking about doing something like this themselves. What advice would you give to an institution who is thinking about their own kind of community initiative or something similar to this?
I always start with, as the slide indicates, involve student leaders. So that, I think, was the most powerful. We didn't want to walk into it making assumptions, right? Because we all know what happens when you assume. We wanted to build a space for students by students. And so we really did very deliberately include them in the development and the voice and the purpose, the why. I always bring it back to that WIFM, what's in it for me, and I keep our students at the forefront. And why did the students ask for this? What do they want out of this? What do you need from this? Please share with me. And then also, can you be are involved in the community? Do you want to be a moderator? Do you want to help us drive content? We did have those students early involved in developing the content. As a community college, those students have graduated and moved on and done amazing things.
Good for them. Yay.
Which is wonderful. And that's totally what we want, right? Yes, exactly. We want you to fly the nest and go on and continue your education. And so that was, I think, the key was getting students involved very early and really using them as your ground, right? What is this purpose? What is this for? Why? And keeping them forefront as you build and as you continue to cultivate and nurture the space. Yeah. Also, yes, getting the word out was super important, helping students understand what the space is, why it's here, and how they can benefit from it if they choose to participate, has also been really important. I continue to sharpen that sword a little bit and continue to find new ways of engaging students and letting students know that this space exists. In fact, I've got a meeting in a couple of weeks with our marketing department to try to find other ways of embedding, hey, did you know this space was here, into additional communications that we sprinkle throughout the student journey. So that's definitely more work that will continuously improve.
And if you have people starting every week, like that is an ongoing process for us, but like it's especially complicated, I would imagine, for your setup and design.
Yeah. I mean, like I mentioned, I do manually add students to the space, but I do it around 3 or 4 times a term. But obviously we have 16 start dates in a term, so that can be unrealistic, right? So, so yeah.
Awesome. Keep going. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that was a great point. And so also just continuing to work with staff and reminding staff and engaging new staff, right? Because we are hiring new academic advisors that need to learn about the space, or there may be new staff in our student life that need to know about the space or may have questions about how to use it. I have a whole form actually that I develop with staff when they're interested in either getting involved in the RioConnect space or building their own co-curricular space. We've worked very closely with our tutoring department, and our tutoring actually promotes the live study group sessions that they host several times a week, and they use Inscribe to promote that and to try to get the word out to more students that, hey, come join this, student or this Rio sponsored study group session that's, that's available over, I think it's available over WebEx. So really just continuing to remind our staff, our faculty, that the space is here, that this product is here, and that there are different methods of using it depending on your population and what your goals are to connect with students. Yeah, so it's just constantly part of our ecosystem now, really.
I love that. Yes, and a great point that a lot of institutions will start by building community in one way. You guys decided to go all in and start with the entire student population, but not uncommon to then find other use cases where you might deploy a slightly different community for a different purpose and maybe a different set of students. And you guys have done a really nice job thinking about that evolution and supporting people through that process. So kudos to you. Thank you, Carly and Danielle, for sharing those resources for us.
Yeah. Katy, I was curious. I don't think we put anything about analytics in this presentation. So I was wondering if Sasha could share a little bit about how she uses the analytics in the platform. And then I was also thinking about social media and how students go out and they create their own social groups and like Facebook and LinkedIn, and what you see the benefits of this this platform, Inscribe, versus those social spaces.
Yeah, great questions. I love that the platform does have really good analytics to show you who's communicating, how often they're looking at posts, how many levels of engagement, like how many views and how many replies posts are getting. The platform also has an embedded polling feature, which I found super helpful. We had a really cool poll year before last about AI and students' thoughts about AI, and giving them, the chance to voice concerns or excitement or anything otherwise about the use of AI. What I've been doing with the analytics is I share that out to our leadership to show and reinforce the value that we have, that our students are engaging with the platform, even if they're not posting. There's that digital term called lurking. It's more like passive viewing, right? So they may not be posting, but that doesn't mean that they're not getting anything out of the space. They're seeing that we're sharing content, or that we're just informing them that, our college is closed on Fridays, or it's a holiday, don't forget, or, whatever that may be. So we're using that reinforcement to show the value, but also to see what kind of content students are engaging with more and what they're finding maybe more valuable. That was actually where the promotion of tutoring sponsored study groups came from, was the number of students that were asking for a study group kind of a session, or any sort of support in creating student-led study groups. There are, I'm sure, Discord channels and other types of social media that students have created with one another, which is not frowned upon, but that's not college supported, and it won't give you the same, yes, that's correct information, or maybe that's not quite the right thing. And so I'm not a huge fan of the external stuff. Of course, we're not going to stop our students from connecting with one another, but if we can provide this space to them, then we know that they're getting the right answers, or that we can endorse or upvote or promote or pin the right answers when students are giving each other advice or recommendations, or helping them find a resource or anything like that. So I definitely see a lot more value in this, especially because of the analytics. A Discord doesn't give you that. Even if we as a college were to create a Discord or a Slack, it doesn't give you the same level of analytics. You can't search in the space in the same way. It doesn't nudge you to engage with content that was maybe answered before, or a resource that was pinned, or anything like that. So this definitely was that answer versus, those other types of platforms or things. Yeah.
Awesome. Great questions, Danielle.
Thanks,
Thank you for bringing those. And I know those are things people also always have top of mind. So I'm so glad that you got to touch on those, Sasha. And then I did realize we do in fact have a slide here now with the QR code. So the study was dropped in the chat, but you can also use this QR code to access the study. And then I will just sort of, before we wrap, say one last thing about Inscribe, which is, when we think about the value of community and what it can do for you, and I hope that Sasha's story reflected this, we always think about three things. Can we improve sense of belonging and social capital? In the study we did with Rio, and we have replicated with a few other partners, it's just such a great example of that. Also, can we improve student persistence? Belonging is related to persistence, but how else can communities drive higher levels of retention for an institution? And we have certainly seen a number of our partners do studies around that, either in the academic space or when we think about year-over-year persistence and retention. And then the third piece, which is not necessarily reflected here, but we would definitely talk to you about, is efficiency. So it's awesome if you can do all these wonderful things for your students, but if it takes you an extra 3 people to get that done, then that's not going to be a sustainable model. So I love that Sasha shared, she's in there an hour a week. She has some partners that help her out, but really the community is about making your institution more effective and more efficient at the way you support students so that we can achieve these other positive outcomes for them. If you have questions about any of this, please let me know. And with that, Danielle, this QR code is for the success stories. I think you
This
probably told
QR
me.
code
Oh,
is
cute to connect.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I can see now that my little bar was covering it up. So if you are interested in chatting more with me or learning more about Inscribe, here's a QR code. You can set up some time to talk or just drop a note in the chat. But really, thank you so much to Sasha. I love that you were here to share your story. We love, love, love working with you and with the team at Rio. It's been so fun. Thank you very much to USDLA and Valerie for hosting us today, and for all of you for being here and sharing a little bit of your Friday with us.
And I want to pop in and thank you both for being here. Thank you, Katy. And I have to thank the magical elves in the background. We had Danielle and Carly dropping the links in the chat. And I will also get those links out in an upcoming newsletter so that more people can benefit from, and tell them, come watch the replay, because there was a lot of really great, amazing content in here today. And I think people will get a lot of good ideas from everything you shared. So I really appreciate you being here today. And just shameless plug, if anybody here still has any interest in registering for the conference, we do have some seats left. I'm trying to fill every seat humanly possible because we want to help as many people as possible, just like Sasha's doing with her amazing. I'm in the gamification space. I'm all about student centered, so we're going to be besties. We'll talk later. We're going to be besties. But if anybody has not registered yet and still wants to register either on site or virtually, or has a colleague that they want to have attend with them or separately or whatever, just drop me a message in the chat or contact me afterwards. I'll stay on for a few minutes after we wrap up here. And I have a special discount code. We are 38 years old here at USDLA in our prime, 38, just like me, or something like that. And I'll give you a code for 30%, 38% off.
Wow, all right. That sounds like a great deal.
So there you go.
Awesome.
That's your little Friday gift from us to anybody who has not already. Good for new registrations. So
awesome.
But thank you again so much to Sasha and Katy and the whole Inscribe team. We love supporting you, and thank you for supporting USDLA, because learning is better together. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of all supporting one another.
We 100% agree. All right. Well, happy Friday, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your weekends. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks so much, you guys. Great to see you, Sasha. Thanks so
You
much,
too.
Valerie. I'll miss you in St. Louis, but
Next year.
Yes, I will be there for sure.
I'm going to hold you to that. I don't know where we're going. I'm not quite sure where we're going to be yet. I have rumors, but I don't want to spread rumors. So
all right,
I'm going to wait.
Keep
I'm
it to
going to wait.
yourself
But
for
we
now.
will announce very shortly the location
Awesome.
for next year, whether it's St.
Okay.
Louis again or somewhere else. But
All
anyway.
right. Well, thanks, you guys. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.